there are some political implications also to why you have seniors coming back to the workforce.
You have individuals right now that have been out of work since COVID,
Yes.
since 2020, and now they're looking for employment. So it's very saturated at this point.
AI and automation, roboticization create opportunities for people to learn a new skill. You will still need human beings.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on When Neighbors Talk. I am your host, Dana Tucker Davis, and here is where the community will come together to discuss current events, how they impact us, and the solutions for them. And we want to welcome you to our neighborhood. Let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about the unemployment rates and the labor market. And we have some wonderful guests with us today. Today, we have Sandra Lee Williams, president of Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council. And we also have neighbor Michelle Baker Williams. She is a provider relations specialist for special projects and coordinator at Cobb Works. Did I get that right?
That is so.
Okay, great. So we are going to discuss the labor market and how it's changing for the good and for the bad, and how we can get us to the point where we need to be. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Okay, welcome to the neighborhood. So now, as the mother of a recent graduate from college, you know, he is frustrated with the labor market right now. He thinks it's overly saturated, and I think that he's just not trying hard enough. So that's where we are. I don't know if I'm right or he's right, but you guys are going to help me get a better impression about that.
Well, you know, Dana, there may be some truth in both those statements.
Okay.
Not knowing what his major is.
Automotive engineering.
Well, as an engineer, he may have to leave Georgia to find that perfect job fit for him. And what we're finding just nationally, the unemployment rate is about 4.3%. Here in Georgia, 3.9. So when you hear those numbers, those are not elevated numbers. We've seen much higher.
Yeah, because the stats that we have from Forbes said in 2021, the U.S. now at that time had 7.2 million people who were unemployed, but there were only 7.18 job openings that were new for the first time. Like, you know, it's not a re-advertising of a job or whatever. And so that to me seems like it was almost balanced. But if you have jobs that are open that you don't have people for the skill sets, then they don't go together.
Clash.
That's right.
They clash. I think for me, I would side on your son,
Okay.
because it is very saturated right now. Because, of course, I think most of the people that we speak with, they have just become a laid-off worker. And so there are also those individuals who are in the same market as your son is in the market, and he's trying to find his first job. They're trying to find maybe their third or fourth. And so it is about skill sets. It is about experience. It is about longevity in some cases, and they're all vying for the same opportunity at this point.
So laid off workers, recent college graduates, and
then you have the retirees coming in.
Retirees coming back to work?
Coming back to
Absolutely.
work. Coming
What?
back to work.
I will never.
Absolutely.
You have individuals right now that have been out of work since COVID,
Yes.
since 2020, and now they're looking for employment. So it's very saturated at this point.
So the ones who are coming back from COVID, because my understanding is how unemployment works, they actually factor in those who are actively seeking employment. They
correct.
don't count the ones who gave up or who are not in the market. So if you're a stay-at-home mom and your child is now graduating and you want to go back into the market, you were not previously counted as unemployed until you start looking, correct?
That is correct.
And so so you're saying that there were persons who, for whatever reason, were not working since COVID, and now they're like, oh, I'm going to go back into the job market. And that coincides with the increased college attendance and graduations, as well as the persons laid off, because recently, just 2025, we've had a lot of layoffs from jobs that I thought had some level of stability.
Yeah,
You know,
and
government
longevity.
positions and large corporations. You know,
Yes.
now they're laying off a lot of their workforce. So.
There are some political implications also to why you have seniors coming back to the workforce.
Their benefits are changing.
Yes.
With higher inflation, changing benefits, lack of medical insurance, or reduced benefits, that is forcing people that are over 65 to re-enter the job market. We just had a new Department of Labor report where we had an overestimation of the number of jobs that were added. And I believe, Michelle, you can help me with this, over 991,000
Yes.
jobs. That wasn't the case. They were not added. So that was also misinformation. So where you see oversaturation, that's why I said it may not be here in Georgia, although Georgia has a new electric vehicle plant coming, Rivian. That's a couple years off. You just heard of some of the activity at the Hyundai plant.
Correct.
Okay. That's going to create vacancies. As an engineer, however, that is a highly skilled position. But your son is coming in with little experience,
Correct.
high knowledge.
Yep.
So it's entry level.
Yeah.
And that's a very competitive market here particularly. Now, if he went to an area of the country that's not as popular as Georgia or Atlanta, perhaps
It'd be better.
he would improve his chances.
So what about the average job? So let's set aside, just put the college graduates over here. You have some high school graduates or, like you said, returning to the workforce persons who are out there looking for jobs. And so now, you know, we have this shift, right? Because not everyone wants to go to college or not everyone thinks that they can afford to go to college. Separate conversation, separate day. But they don't have the skills and the knowledge that you would gain from that experience, right? That extra training. So they're going to the market. What about the jobs that they're available for? What does that look like?
Well, I think there's a reclassification of skill sets at this point, because when we talk about entry level, you know, back in the day, right? When we talk about entry level, it was more about the young person going to the fast food. But now entry level needs a certification, they need skills, and they need experience. And so that's the reason why you have so many different opportunities, but they're not out there visible, if you will, because of the entry level and the reclassification of things, where now a young person is really having a hard time finding a job at a fast food restaurant just because a person 50 is now going back to work and that's what they can get. So I look at it as one of those things where, as you are looking at yourself and having to reevaluate, it is about the credentials, it is about the certification, and how do you make that happen? And so that young person now really does have to do something else other than just graduated from high school.
Dana, I'd like to address that as well. We have, when you talk about organized labor and labor unions, you're talking about skilled trades.
Yes.
One of the best kept secrets that most people, when we're trying to make sure that we communicate this far and wide, are apprenticeship programs. They are free. High school graduates can apply. They can come in. They can learn a trade that oftentimes pays 2 or 3 times what your average worker would make in a fast food restaurant.
I was going to go to that next because I am actually a chairperson over an event that we're having Saturday at a Metro Atlanta high school, and so it's a college fair, right? And I was like, we want vocational schools to come. So we have some cosmetology schools coming. We have law enforcement, armed forces, but we have Georgia Power coming, and they're bringing their dump truck. And they're like, why are you having Georgia Power? You know why? Because those journeymen, the people that get up on the line, they train them. They can make up to $100,000 within, you know, a short period of time.
Well, now let me just say this. Those journeymen that you speak of are union members.
Yes.
The training that they receive to work at Georgia Power comes through my unions.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the operating engineers, plumbers and pipe fitters, those
Welders.
are welders. And a lot of the training happens through our facilitated services, through those unions. But we also know, as I work with Cobb Works, I work with Atlanta WorkSource, there is, even for young people that have dropped out of school, there is a program between the ages of 16 and 24, Youth Bill, where they can actively come and learn a construction trade. So it's not necessarily the names of the big companies, but it's actually our unions that build those workers.
And I want to touch on one little thing because it's been a running topic for some of the sessions that we've had and discussions we've had with prior neighbors. Technological advances. How everyone has this thought, AI is going to kick me out, the robots are going to come, and I'm not going to have a job. Now, I'm not saying that it's true or false, but you guys would know better how automation and or artificial intelligence is impacting the workforce and the labor market.
AI and automation, robotization create opportunities for people to learn a new skill. You will still need human beings.
Okay. So do you think that is that the desire for an employer to use an actual live person will be about the same, just different positions?
Can I give an example?
Yes.
Baseball.
Okay.
Baseball is now going to use AI to determine if that pitch, that fastball was a ball, a strike, but they use it for recalls. So you'll have an umpire, and if the team wants to challenge the call, then that information that is absorbed or recorded through AI processes will be there. So it'll show you the box, and it'll show you the ball if it's within that confine or if it's outside. Give you the speed, which we already have that. So we like to think of it in terms of aiding what we do.
And enhancing.
So,
because there's always a person in this example that's going to the box and looking at the video.
That's right.
There's always a person. So it's not eliminating all positions. It's just enhancing some of them.
Hiring behavior. Have there been any changes in that? You know, we have a low hiring period time and we have a low firing period of time. So, because low firing means that you get to stay there even though you may not be meeting the benchmarks or whatever, but I'm not going to terminate you, so therefore that position is not open for someone to come in, learn the skill or whatever. Low hiring means that, you know, while I may have a need, I'm just going to delve out the work to the employees differently so that I don't have to fill the position. So is that ebbing and flowing right now? It's about the same. What is going on in that?
I think it is in terms of the low hiring. For example, you go into a retail store right now, and if you have a question about a product, in most cases there's not another individual in there to ask that question. Now, once you find your product, you go to the cash register. There is a cashier, and the line has 20 people in it. And I think that's kind of leading to, because we have a person that we need a person for this specific job, which is the cash register. But we don't necessarily have someone to stock the shelves at that moment to answer a question of the customer in the store. So it is happening. It is happening. I find myself going into those retail stores and there's no one available. No one available, but because you had to let individuals go. But at the end of the night, all the things are taken care of by those two cashiers. That's kind of how it is for me.
I feel like that with grocery store.
Yeah.
Because now they have the self-checkout line. And so, you know, self-checkout line used to be just you had less than 10 items or whatever. Now everyone's they're pushing you to those because they can hire less people.
Correct.
But when you're on the shelf and something's missing, you don't have anyone to ask the question of. Or if you, like my husband the other day, went to get some chicken and they didn't have any chicken because there was no one there to cook it. In that part of the grocery store, they didn't have any chicken there that was already cooked, pre-cooked, because they're hiring less people. So you do see that there. Do we think that's going to shift anytime soon?
My thought about this is two thoughts, and I want to make sure I represent labor unions.
Okay.
From my vantage point, this is a right to work state. So
Correct.
high firing is always on the menu. When we think about self-checkouts, you're reducing labor.
Correct.
Not a big fan of that.
Me either.
Many of your retail stores are finding that is also increasing shortages. There's nobody here to actively look and see, did the person pay the right price for this? Was that left in their cart? So I'm not saying it's eroding the store's profit, but it really is reducing the number of people that actively have jobs, which means that your husband had to wait. We go to the store, we can't ask a question, we make the wrong purchase, then we have to come back. So there are a lot of situations where I think we would benefit from having more workers on the job.
Because if you're looking at going into the store and not having that availability of a person, I might not go back to that store.
Absolutely.
I might not go back. And then, of course, that's the bottom line, which means that there's not a person that they're hiring or keeping because, of course, their bottom line is being challenged at that point in time.
So if you had to rate the factors that are contributing to our current market, what would be your top 3?
Training is definitely one.
Training? Okay.
Training would be at the top of my list because as we just spoke about vocational skills, as older electricians, I'll use for example, are aging out of the market, who's going to replace those folks? So when you call an electrician to your home or a plumber to your home, shortage creates opportunity for profit. Now you might have to wait a day where it could have been a couple hours before you had a skilled tradesperson come to your home. No different than any other. You look at healthcare, the same thing. When you have a nursing shortage, what happens?
You overwork the staff.
You overwork the staff.
And then they make mistakes and errors, and then
I have a daughter that's an engineer. I have a daughter that's in HR, but I have a son that just graduated from medical school a couple of years ago. And shortages throughout healthcare are very obvious, and it does have an impact on patient care.
So training is your top one, and what's yours?
Well, honestly, I was going to say education.
Education,
because workforce development. So as I said earlier, it is about that skilled worker, that certified individual. So and because it is the market is so saturated, the employer or that business is really picking an individual that is not necessarily has been in a job for the last 25 years. They are looking for that young mind. I personally think, because I'm getting to that age, right? So I personally think that with the ageism that's going on, that it really reduces the diversity. And because you've got a young person that's coming in that hasn't really worked at all, but that you need someone like me who has been to guide them, who's been in the workforce for a little while. So I think it all kind of ties in together as we're talking about training and education, and then attaining those skills and those certifications.
And lastly, you know what it drives down? Wages.
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 Yes.
Yeah.
Wages, and that's a challenge.
So that's going to be the part I segue into now. Before we wrap up our conversation, what laws or policies do you think that we need a shift to happen in that's going to positively affect the workforce? Because everyone wants us to increase the minimum hourly wage, and I don't know if that's going to positively or negatively impact the market. But I know that there are laws that impact us, and maybe there should be laws on the AI or automation. I don't know.
I'm going to speak to the wage. I have to because in Georgia, the minimum wage is $5.15. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. Now you would say, well, who makes $5.15? Domestic workers, farm workers, the folks that actually keep.
I thought the farm workers were paid by the.
They fall under the category of workers under the Georgia minimum wage.
Yeah, I'm saying I thought they did. Like if you were picking tomatoes, you got paid per barrel or per item or whatever.
There are some that are paid right.
Okay.
by the piece, and that's what
Yes.
you're speaking of. But we also have workers that don't fall under, and I'll give you an example. When you go back to 1939,
Okay.
when the federal minimum wage was started, the carve-outs for those targeted certain people. Domestic workers
Domestic
were
worker.
one. They tend to be black and brown people then and black and brown people now.
And they carve out, because I still don't understand why it's $2 and something for waitresses and
Tip workers.
tip workers, you know. And so that whole tip process to me, not from a legal standpoint, because I represent a lot of restaurants, but I just think that is just so unfair to them for a whole nother set of reasons, and that's a whole nother day.
When Michelle and I look at wages, service industry workers tend to make the lowest wages.
Correct.
And they tend to be women,
Correct.
as well as my example of black and brown people. So I don't think it's a mistake, and particularly in the South. I go back to having right to work laws. So having increased wages so that you wouldn't have to work 2 and 3 jobs, because everybody is not fortunate enough to either have attained a law degree or master's degree or gone to college and started a career that they could take care of themselves and their families. Now we have people that even have PhDs that are working 2 jobs, trying to find opportunities to allow them to be able to fulfill their career aspirations and to take care of their families.
That's a lot. We've covered a lot, and I feel like I want to be depressed a little bit because I own my own firm, so I do have employees that work for me. I am not affecting the labor market or the workforce at all with my little 5 or 6 people, but I get it, and those are considerations that we look at. And I feel like, some social action as far as the policies, we need to start advocating for that and pushing people to unions or skilled labor force programs, just so they can, get the skills and training and education you're talking about, and perhaps addressing some things with colleges so they can get some more education. We have a short period of time to talk about this stuff, and we could go on and on and on.
Yes.
But I want to thank you guys for coming and talking to us today. So now, if our viewers or our neighborhood community want to reach out to you, how can they reach you? Will you tell them how to reach you?
Yes, absolutely. If you'd like to reach out to me at the Labor Council, you can call 404-525-3559. Again, I'm Sandra Lee Williams, and I just want to make a pitch for labor unions in terms of some of the highest paid people in our country are athletes, and they are union members.
Yep, they are. Now, Miss Williams, second Miss Williams, how can they reach you?
Yeah. Again, it's Michelle Williams, and I am with WorkSource Cobb, 770-528-4870.
Well, again, we thank you guys. Y'all have a plethora of information and knowledge, and I learned some things today, and so I thank you. We're going to have some additional conversations. Hopefully, we'll come back next year, and the market would change, tip toward the positive in a year. Let's see where we are, okay?
Thank you, Dana.
No problem. Thank you. And to our community, we want to thank you for visiting with us today, because we have engaging conversations, and we know that when neighbors talk, locals listens. I am Dana Tucker Davis. Thank you.